I was doing this class until it was announced on air, but I'm really pleased that I am. Our lovely Hannah, who is picking up 2 Red Robins now, she's going to be face of that brand. So Stephanie can focus on painting perfection and all the amazing training that we've got coming up, which is going to be super. In fact, we had our first face-to-face workshops this weekend just gone, and we had 20 ladies over the 2 days learning how to paint, and I have to say it was fabulous, and everybody had a really good time, and the work that they produced was just beautiful. So keep an eye out on our Light Crafts Academy page, and we'll let you know when the next classes are, and we will be having some scan and cut classes too, which will be really exciting. So what I've done today is I've got 4 or 5 cards ready just to build for you, because I think it's important that we give you the inspiration. Most of you now know how to, in fact all of you probably now know how to cut out a reflection. So I wanted to just give you lots of inspiration in the forms of finished samples so that you could see it, because especially when we do an SVG USB on TV, by the time we've gone through the boards, we haven't got a lot of time to demonstrate. So I thought it would be nice just to give you some inspiration and show you different ways of using the cutting files. So we're going to start with this fabulous image here of this windmill, and it does have the sails, if you like, to go on the top of the windmill, but I actually quite like it just as it is, almost like an outbuilding. So it's a slightly different way of using it. So I've cut out the largest one. So if I position this over here, you can see I've cut out the largest one, and this is wherever the wind goes, in the wind number 1. Okay, so I've cut out the largest version. I've then taken a background off a previous USB, so the USBs will bring you with all the beautiful artwork on. And I've cut the matte cut layer for this image. So when you open up your USB on your scan and cut, you'll have detail cuts, matte cuts, and then reflections. And the matte cut is what I've used to cut this out. And then I've also cut 2 pieces from white cardstock to make my card blank. Now you could just pop that on there, and if you want it to feel a little bit lighter, fresher, use white card, because that really makes everything pop. But if you like the idea of everything being outdoors and it being seamless and you're not seeing a card base, then you can cut that matte layer out of a pattern paper. And of course, because you've got a scan and cut, you can scan the piece of paper in and decide exactly where you want that to be positioned. So here, for example, we've made sure that we've got the sky at the top and the fence and all the grasses down at the bottom. So it's a really nice way of making your card blanks as well as using those matte layers. So all I've done on one of these is just put a score line across the top there, so that when we fold this over, this will then become our card blank. So I'm using my Pinflair bookbinding glue. And I said to Andrew this morning when we came in, I said, it's cold in that studio. Can we just turn the temperature up? Now it's so warm that it's put skin over the top of my glue. So what you find with the Pinflair glue gel is it never clogs. If it clogs, it's because you've snipped the top and you've forgotten to put your lid on, which is what I do a lot, forget to put my lid on. You will get a little skin that forms over the top, but the nozzle's too small for too much air to get inside, so it doesn't dry out like a lot of other glues. So we've now got our little card base there, ready to go. Okay, so we've got the inside and the outside, and you can decorate the inside as well if you wanted to. So let's now stick this on top of our card blank. So again, a really small amount of glue. You don't need a lot. It's a really good quality glue, and we do sell it on our website. We also have, while I'm just sticking this down, a fabulous code for you today. So when we do a Zoom class, we like to give you a code. And it's MEL15, so MEL and then 15, and it gives you 15% off all things Brother, including the Scan and Cut SDX. How about that? So if you're in the market for an upgrade, might be the time to do it. We are bringing out, well, Create and Craft are bringing in a new model. It's the 2240D, it's a Disney machine. I haven't got it out the box yet because we've been teaching all weekend, so it's been super busy. So I don't exactly know what the difference is, but I do know it comes with a calligraphy pen set and it's got Disney images in it. So if you're a Disney lover, that's where you can go. But I don't think there's that much difference between the SDX 1200 and the Disney one, so I won't worry about it. Right, we're going to start building up our scene. So I've now got this fabulous outbuilding. I think it's lovely, and I love the fact that we've got the thatch roof on there as well. And we're going to start to build, and we can go slightly over the edge of the card shape. Just because you've made a card blank doesn't mean you need to stay within the restraints of that. You can absolutely make it your own and start to build. So what I like to do is build up my layers. So we've got this layer that can be the decoupage for that, which will mean that that goes slightly further back and these bits come slightly further forward. And then we've got these fabulous little mice. I love these. That character is such a good little shape and a really good little face on it and a really soft eye. I love it when you've got a really soft eye in an animal. If you make it too hard, it looks angry. We don't want angry mices and mices, do we? So he can go behind there and have his little nose peeping out like that. So I would do that bit first, okay, because we're going to put pin flare glue gel on the decoupage layer, and we don't want to then squash it when we are sticking it together. So I've positioned him in so I can see where he's going to go, and then I also know where I need the glue. So I need a little bit on his tail and at the bottom, and then on the other side I need a little bit on his nose. So when I put him underneath now, he can go there, and then his little face can peep through, which is lovely. Go on, there you go. Push his little nose through there. And his nose, oh, Melanie, hands today. Hands aren't working right today. Let's get that through there. Let's put his little nose down there, and then he's stuck in place like that. So we've now got a little mouse peeping out. And when you put that flat onto here, because you've got the background of the building, you don't need a back piece to go behind it, because it kind of, you wouldn't know that there wasn't one there. So let's just position this down. So I know that that's going to go over there like that. And then I've got some thistles, which are lovely. And when you're creating things like this, you want to, because it's tall and slim, it's not too wide, you want to kind of build a little bit of width, but you also want to replicate the height. It's like when you're working on a rectangle or an oval where the height is more than the width. You kind of need to work within that shape and bring everything together. So I'm going to have a thistle just coming over there, and it's coming off the edge again, I think. And, you know, just try lots of different things out, because you might not get it first time. You might not think, you might think you know what you want to do, but actually in reality it can be quite different. And I used to get really cross with myself right at the beginning when I started doing paper crafting, because I was like, but that's not what I was setting out to do. But then I stopped myself and went, but do you like it? And I was like, well, yeah, I do like it. So what's your problem? I talk to myself like this all the time, tell myself off. So we've now got our little thistles in there as well. We now want some ears of corn, so we can start to build this into here. So we're layering all these pieces together. And I'd already cut everything out because I just thought I wanted to give you as many different card ideas as possible. So rather than continuing to build this now I know that I've got my positioning right, I will start to stick it all together. So let's take these bits away. I also think these will be great for your scrapbooking pages. Near us where we live, we have Southport, and there's quite a lot of windmills in Southport. So we used to spend many a day on Southport Beach in the sand dunes and all around there when I was little. So I've got loads of photographs, and I just think Two Red Robins especially really lends itself to that, because you're telling a story, and that's what scrapbooking's all about. It's about telling your story for future generations of your family. Because in 100 years' time, though, if the world changes as much as it has in the last 30 years, what we do now will be unrecognisable. So it's really a good thing to do, your scrapbooking, and I think this is perfect for it. You know, maybe you've been out for a day trip in the countryside, maybe you want to make a little journal, maybe you haven't got any photographs at all, but you want to just recall the memory, tell the story, then absolutely you can do that. And it's funny, isn't it, how I would never have thought that this generation, that the people that are alive on this earth now, will be such a big part of history until COVID hit. And now will be a massive part of history, because the pandemic will be taught to children, you know, in decades' time to come. So it's, you know, it's one of those things, you really do need to tell your story. And someone once said to me, if you don't tell the story, nobody else will. And that really resonated with me. So yeah, I have loads of scrapbooks at home. And actually, my grandchildren love it. They love it. When my son was like 18, 19, when I was making them, he wasn't interested at all. But now he's got children, it really comes into its own. So yeah, it's funny. And a funny story about Alice as well this week. So she was on half term last week. Alice is my granddaughter, if people don't know. She's only 7. And she is a proper crafter. She gets it. It's in her. I can see it in her. The way she puts colours together and everything else. So she'd said to Grandad said, come on, we'll go in Nana's room and do a bit of crafting, which she thought was amazing. And then Grandad was trying to colour in, and she's like, no, Grandad, you don't do it like this. You do it like this. You can't just come in and do it. You have to learn it properly. So over the week, oh, that's no good, is it? Just chop the top off that. Over the weekend, I got a message that said, Nana, Grandad's trying to craft again. Please make him stop. I was like, so I rang Mick. I said, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm trying to colour in, but I'm getting told that I'm not good enough. I was like, wow, okay. So she's a funny little thing. If TV's still going when she hits 18, I think she'll probably be on it, knowing her. Right, so I broke that little thistle head off there. And the reason that I did that was because I wasn't thinking about what I was doing, standard. But also when I do the reflections, I do them on a lightweight paper. And the reason for that, I usually use 140 pure print. The reason that I do that is because the Scan and Cut has a straight blade, so it's not like a die. It's completely different to the way that a die works. A die, the cut lines on a die will almost push the card into itself, whereas on a Scan and Cut, it's a straight blade. So you start to see the white edges. And the thicker the card, the worse the white edges look. So I tend to work for my reflections on a lightweight paper. And then sometimes it can be a little bit thin. So just be aware of that. Also, I can see on here, I'm just going to see if I can grab a piece of darker card so that you can see it, because I want to talk to you about this bit. So let's pull this one out of here. Sometimes when you've cut out your reflections and it's on a very tight turning point, like here and here, you'll find that your paper almost pushes back on itself. And it's just, it niggles me. It's like pips on a paper kit. So if you're finding that, you need to drop your pressure. Even on your auto blade, drop your pressure down to about -2. You might need to adjust that depending on the age of your blade. But then just go in with a pair of tweezers and just flatten that out again. So what's happening is the blade, when you're cutting a lightweight paper, you don't need pressure on it. The auto blade will go along and read the depth of the paper, but it doesn't know the density of it. So it doesn't know how tight those fibers are. So sometimes, well, all the time, actually, when I'm doing reflections, I will have my cut pressure on the auto blade on -2 because I know I get a better cut. But also it stops that little bit because it doesn't need the pressure to force the blade through. It needs the blade depth. So the blade depth is perfect with your auto blade, but just drop the force down because you actually don't need it that high. So I'm now going to pop another thistle, and we'll just have this one coming over to the side here, I think, like that. And it's all these little things that you'll pick up in the free Scan and Cut classes that we do. So we've got another one tonight if you'd like to come and join us. At 5:30 till 6:30 we do an SDX class, and at 7 till 8 we do a CM class, so we're not leaving anybody behind by any means. And I'm going to teach you how to make a stepper card and the mat layers for it today. So that's a really good one to learn, because then you can have the stepper card in the size that you want and in the card that you want rather than buying them, so that's good. So I've now got my basics around here. So now we're adding the fluff bit in, if you like. So I'm going to have some more corn, and I'm going to position this down here so it looks like it's just growing wild, because I think this building's been abandoned. The sails have come off and it's been a little bit forgotten, and that's why the mice are now making their nests there, because it's safe, because the humans aren't there anymore. And it's a lovely little story of going into the countryside and finding this fabulous building that's just been left. And all the little animals have made their home in it. And I love that about Two Red Robins. I love the storytelling. I think it's just a lovely, lovely thing to do. And if my mum was still alive, she'd have loved this, because she had an amazing imagination, my mum. Every day when I used to come back from work, her and Matthew were dressed up as some sort of character and having a whole scenario going on. So yeah, she would have loved this too. So odd ears of corn here and there. So we can have another one here, because you've got your decoupage layers as well. So your decoupage layers on your Scan and Cut USB, you can use as tuck-ins rather than as a decoupage layer. That's why we put them on, but you can also decoupage as well if that's what you want to do. And then we're coming into the foreground, so we're going to have the little mouse here, and I'm just making sure that when I stick him on, if I just move this up slightly a little bit, you'll be able to see the bottom edge of this is here. This is where it's going to stand, so I'm making sure that that doesn't come beneath that. And I'm actually going to just, I'm going to leave his tail on. I can't do that to him. So I'm just going to curve him. So I've just got my tweezers, and I'm just going around and I'm giving him a little bit of dimension, and I'm going to have him sat there like that. So I am going to put some glue on his tail, because we don't want that just wafting about. We want to make sure that he's going to stay where he is and he's not going to lose his tail. And then a little bit of Pim Flare glue gel, not too much, just a little bit. And I'm just going to have him coming in. And do you know what I really love about Two Red Robins is, you know, that is completely size-wise out of context, you know, out of reality, but he looks absolutely fabulous on there. And then you've got a decoupage layer, which looks like, yeah, that's not, I don't like looking at the decoupage layers. It looks like he's been hurt, but that can then go over the top of there and give him a little bit more depth. So it's up to you, depends whether you're posting it, whether you're making a box for it, you know, all that kind of thing I know comes into consideration. But it's just lovely. And pictures, you know, you can just take this and put it in a picture frame. You go somewhere like the Range or IKEA or, you know, Home Bargains, you can pick up some really, really nice frames, but really inexpensively. And it may be that you want to make a bit of extra money, then what a perfect way to do it, because it is just lovely. Really lovely. And don't ever think that your work's not good enough. If you're happy with it, that's all that matters. Who says it's not good enough? We are our own worst critics sometimes, aren't we? And I have to say, it was lovely over the weekend, because the ladies that were on the class, some of them had never picked up a paintbrush before, and the work that they achieved was just amazing. So yeah, it was a lot of fun this weekend. We had a great time. And it was so lovely just to see people back in a classroom again, because I know we've done teaching at Crafting Live and places like that, but to actually see people again is just, yeah, lovely. Because that's what I used to do every day of the week before COVID hit. I was more often than not teaching a class. So I'm going to pop this now behind here. So I've taken the poppies from a different collection, still on that USB, but adding them in. And because Two Red Robins is exactly what it is, it's about the countryside, it's outdoors, most of the collections will mix and match together. And that's why I love having them on a USB as SVG files, because it gives you that wide range of images at a really good price, because, you know, it's digital, you're not paying for the metal, but also you can mix and match them, and it makes you a little bit braver, I think, with your, you know, with your collections, and you're not having to wait for 4 to come out to be able to mix and match them. And even the first USB that you bought, these will work absolutely with this. You know, there's no reason why it won't. It's not like it's themed. It's not like it's, you know, jungle themed or whatever, you know, wildlife. It is just what we see on a daily basis, isn't it? And I love that about it. So because I've got 2, I need a 3rd one, because I have to work in 3s or odd numbers. It's just the way that I've been taught. So it could go up there if you wanted it to, and I'm actually going to do that. Now, when you're using something that's quite short like this, and you want it to create height on a project, you can still do that. But what you're going to do is you're going to put your glue down here like this, and then when you tuck it behind, you can't just put it there like that, because then you can see that the stem doesn't continue down. But if you tuck it behind something like this thistle leaf here, nobody's going to look to see where that stem comes out. It looks like it's meant to fit there. And then anything that hangs over, I'm not going to put glue on. And anywhere that I've got something that needs lifting, I put a little bit of glue on there like that. And that's your first project done. And I think that's just lovely. And it stands up, she says, fingers crossed. Stands up perfectly. Let's turn it around so that you can see it from the front as well. Look. So it stands up perfectly, but you've got this lovely, it's not freestanding like you would expect from Stephanie and Two Red Robins, because you've got that card base, but utilise those matte layers. You know, you might want to add some sacks of corn on here, so take the matte file for the corn bag and weld it to make your card shape. You don't have to glue the pieces together then. You know, you can have another one here and you could have something over here and build that up. And I just think that's a really nice, quick, simple card that will really impress somebody, and that will absolutely stand out on somebody's mantelpiece next to the rectangular and the square cards. So that's good. So next, I thought we would go to Wandering Wilderness, which was lovely. I got the chance to demonstrate this one on TV as the dies, which I was very excited about because I love this caravan. It takes me back to when the fair used to come to Blackburn, to Ewood Park, where Blackburn Rovers football ground is now. And all the caravans would turn up at Easter and we'd go to the fair, and it was just the best thing. I actually enjoyed Easter more than Christmas because the fair came to town and it was so exciting. So yeah, it was, that takes me right back to being a little girl. Right, so what we're going to do with this one is we're going to make it into an easel card, I think. So to do that, we need to think about how our card opens. So I've cut 2 of them out of craft card. We do sell this craft card on our website. It's Anna Marie Designs, and I think there's 50 sheets in a pack. And her craft card, in my opinion, is the best on the market. It's a lovely colour, not just on the front. You don't get, you know, and sometimes when you buy craft card and it looks bitty, it looks like bits have been swept up off the floor and it's been compressed because you've got all like the little chips in it. And then on the other side, it almost looks like, the only analogy I have is the inside of a toilet roll. It looks cheap. This doesn't. It's beautifully coloured right the way across. And on the other side, it's still a nice colour. You know, there are little bits here and there, which is what you would expect, but the actual, it's a lovely craft card. So if you're interested in that, check it out on our website. So all I'm going to do, because I haven't got my scoreboard with me, is just make sure that the wheels at the bottom there are on a line on your glass mat, and then use another line on your glass mat to create a straight line. So I'm going to use that line there, and then if you've got a scoreboard, use it. Don't do what I do, but I'm using what I've got with me today. So I've got my tweezers, and I'm just going to score that like that. So that's going to be the back of my card, like that. And if you fold it both ways, you'll find it easier then just to score it. And I use my scraper from Brother. So if you haven't got one of these yet, this is something that I would highly recommend. You can tell mine's been used for cleaning mats last week because we did, we had the trade show at the NEC yesterday and today. And the stand looks phenomenal. We've done it all Cadence and Lemon Lane. It looks amazing, but it was chaos here last week. That's the only way I can describe it. Organised chaos. It really was very, very, very busy in our workroom last week. There was stuff everywhere, but it was great fun. So again, this time this wants to be the easel card. So what we're going to do is put a score line across the middle of here. So I'm going to move this down slightly so I can get to a straight line, and let's use this one here. Liz says she loves Tinker the horse and she's making a wall decoration of him. I think he's fabulous, isn't he? He is lovely. And I love this collection, I think, because when I was younger, in my teenage years, I think my mum and dad thought it would keep me out of mischief. I'm not sure that it did, but I used to go horse riding every Saturday. But on top of having the lesson on Saturday afternoon, I used to go down every Saturday morning at 5 a.m. And I used to muck out all these horses. And it was just, it was one of those things where I'd go down and I'd do all this work and then I still had to pay for my lesson. And my mum used to say, why are we paying for this lesson? You've done all this work, why are you paying for all this lesson? Anyway, we did. And it was one of those things. Right, now I'm looking at this and thinking, is that going to make a good easel card? And I'm not too sure that it is, because I think the wheels are going to get stuck here. Can you see as we stand it up? I don't think that's going to work very well. So I'm going to change my mind. And I'm going to just make it as a plain card blank. Sometimes you just have to try things. And until you try them, you don't know whether it's going to work or not. Like our lovely Lou Withers was on last night with a mindful moodling, and she was doing shrink plastic, which I have to say was hilarious because it just kept flying all over the place. But until she put alcohol ink down and it looked really pale, but until she shrank it, and then because she shrank the image with the colour on, the colour intensified as it shrank. So then she went, do you know what? I think it'll just be nice in black. And it was. So you just have to try these things. And, you know, if it doesn't work, it's a piece of card. It is literally a piece of card. And with everything that's going on in the world, it kind of seems a little bit irrelevant, doesn't it? So if you don't get something, if something doesn't work out right, just change it. It's as simple as that. So I'm now going to put this one on top of here. That works lovely. And again, we're just going to go in with our pin flare glue. And you don't need a lot. This has a very low water content. And it dries quite quickly, but it does give you a little bit of time to manoeuvre if you need to. A little bit of wiggle room. But it is a really good glue. I don't use anything but pin flare anymore. So I'm going to pop that onto there like that. So because we've now got an extra piece that I don't need, I'm going to use it to cut this part off, to decoupage it up a little bit. So we're going to follow the line, and there's a shadow here. So the blue bit is what I want to cut out. I'm going to go to here, round there, but I'm going to start, when it drops down here, there's a bit of a shadow. So keep the shadow bit, and then just snip in and meet that blue line as you go up. And even, it doesn't matter what kind of scissors you use the whole blade. So you'll see I'm opening the blade of the scissor and I'm gently closing it with my right hand as I'm turning the paper with my left hand, like so. And then I'm going to follow that round. I'm just going to take my time because it's not easy to see the image when I'm going round here. And then as soon as I get to there, I can then follow that line again. If you do this, you'll end up with lots of little cuts. And you can see it. Whereas if you use the whole blade, it gives you a much neater finish. So just a little tip for you there, and then move the paper rather than moving your scissors. So all your scissors are doing is opening and closing. And even when I get kind of halfway down the blade there, I can open them up again. But I'm not doing little snips, and you'll find that that gives you a much neater finish. Right, so because I've now got this piece, and this piece here is thin, and this piece here is thin, so I'm going to put flat glue down here so that that sticks completely flat, and I'm going to put a little bit of flat glue, wet glue down here, and then I'm going to use my pin flare glue gel, and I'm going to put it directly onto this picture, because then I'm not fighting with the glue when I'm trying to position my piece down, my decoupage layer down. And I find this much easier to do. But you find what works for you. I think we all do that. You can take tips and hints from anybody, but you find your own way. So some will work for you and some won't, and that's okay too. Right, so I'm just pressing that down there, and then I'm just going to work my way around and just push that into place. So we've now got that little bit of depth and dimension on there. Now, what else can we use? We could use the front two wheels there. That might look quite good. So let's have a look. We might as well make the most of this while we've got this layer. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to cut there, round that wheel there like that. And I'm going to cut this, because this wheel in the middle here is at the back. So I'm going to work my way right the way down, like this, along, and then when I get to this bit here, there's a piece there that's attached to the wheel, so I'm going to come up and then round and meet that part of the wheel there, and then this bit here, because that's behind, I'm going to snip away. So just look at your image and see what's behind, because the way that decoupage works is you start at the back and you work forward. and then anything that's behind gets cut away as the closer you get to the front. So now I've got those two wheels that can also go on there as a decoupage layer. That's got a little bit damaged there, so I'm just going to put a little bit of glue there just to support it, like that. And then I'm going to put my glue gel, so I'm just going to pop it in the middle of the wheel there. I'm going to go along that piece of wood there, and then I'm going to put a little bit more on this wheel there as well. And we'll just pop a little bit there and a little bit there. So find a place that's a little bit that's wide that you can put your glue on, and then just pop that onto there like that. So we've now got our caravan built up. And if you wanted to, you could cut this door, so you'd go across the arch, down the right hand side and the bottom, and then that would open up. If you're going to do that, put another one behind it, or put something behind it, so it just, you don't just see the card blank. Right, so we've got our fabulous Vardo now. So let's bring in some of these fabulous little bits and pieces here. So you could, if you wanted to, open up your card and pop another one behind like that. So you now got a row, so you're now creating that perspective straight away. And it doesn't matter that it's, you know, kind of, it's not going to be part of the one that stands. It's just creating that depth and that perspective. And I like doing that because it makes it look like there's a whole row, and that's how it was when I was little. But don't stick it to the back of your card blank, stick it on the inside, okay? So let's do that. Let's just add this onto here. And we'll pop that inside there like that. Okay, so when we open it up now, you've got it stuck to the back of there. And don't forget, we do reverse reflections. So you could cut another one of that, and you could reverse it and then glue it to the back, and then you would see the caravan inside the card as well. You wouldn't just see that white piece. So that's a really nice thing to do. That's why I like having reverse reflections. So now we've got our steps, and each caravan, even the teeniest, tiniest one, came with a set of steps, which I thought was really cool. So I'm going to put my steps in situ because I like the idea of that. So I'm going to pop a little bit of wet glue just down those struts at the side, and then that's going to go there like that. And then that will sit on there. So again, it adds that little bit of extra detail in. And you could have one here if you wanted to, but that would need to go behind there as well. But I'm not going to worry about that one. So now we want to add in some extra bits and pieces. So we've got our tin bath. I love this tin bath. So where do we want this to go? Do we want it to be in the front of the caravan, or do we want it to be on the inside? So I'm going to stick it so that it's on here like this, because again, you can, let's do it up, let's do it up there. Let's see what happens when I put the horses on. Right, I think I need that a little bit further down. And it's just a case of playing, you know, get all the pieces cut. That's how I work. I can't work with just thinking, oh right, well I can't imagine it because I don't have pictures. So what I do to compensate for that is I cut everything out. And as I'm cutting everything out, I'm thinking, right, well, that can go there and that can go there, because I can see it then. And I love that. And then Tinker. I love Tinker, because he looks like a proper tinker, doesn't he? He's got a real mischief in him. Even just the way he's holding his leg is like, he's got a little bit of sass about him, I think, Tinker. And Tinker's going to go here like this. So he's just going to glue on top of the caravan there. He's a little Tinker. Reminds me of the Shire horses in the way it's his brewery in Blackburn. I used to go there and groom them as well. I tell you, I must have been a glutton for punishment, but I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It's the best thing. So we're now going to just add a little bit of shape here. And he could actually go behind. Let's see if this works. And looks like he's drinking out of the bath. So to do that, I need a craft knife and I haven't got one. So you would snip just across there like that and have him just drinking there. Or he could be at the front and you could add some grasses in. It's up to you. You know, the choice is yours. Let's stick him here for now. And don't be scared of changing your mind halfway through a project. It's okay. I do it all the time. My best trick is I get all the layout, I lay it all out, I'm happy with it, and then I change it all when I put it back together again. I do that all the time. But I give myself permission to do it because I think that's important. Right, now we've got these little mischiefs here, our goats. I love these little characters, they're fabulous. So he can go behind there and just be coming out at the top, and he's, there you go, look, so it now looks like he's coming from behind and he's stood up against the bath, peeping over, seeing what the horses are up to. He's proper mischief, this one. Proper mischief. Isn't it funny how you create your own stories when you're crafting with it? I don't think there's another, apart from Quirky Bird, which I obviously do because that's characters and things as well. And we've got another launch of that on the 4th of March, I think, 7th of March. Different stuff, not tins this time, just different stuff, which is cool. And also on Friday, I am so happy about this. On Friday at 6 p.m, on Create and Craft, we are launching our digital craftorium. Now, digital craftorium is exactly the same as cutting craftorium, but unfortunately, the world we live in now dictates that Facebook doesn't like the word cutting. It puts up a warning. So we are calling it digital craftorium, and we're doing boxes. So there's 10 pieces of construction for storage that you can build. And then there's also 20 boxes and then 30 patterns. So you can put any pattern in any panel on any box. And I'm filming the education for that tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. But I'm so glad it's back. Been asked so many times for that brand, I can't tell you. So I'm very happy that that's coming back. Now I've just got my clothes off the washing line, and we can have some of these. We can pop one of those in there so it looks like the goat's carrying it. I think I might need a smaller one than that for the goat, because otherwise the clothes are going to be bigger than the goat itself. That's no good. So let's have this little shirt here. So all I'm doing now is snipping away the washing line like that. The pegs are still on it because I've literally yanked it out like that. And it can be just have this little bit of clothes in there. Again, I would probably put a little cut just in his mouth there so that that can then snip in there, but that works for now. We can have another one here. So this one can have another piece, or we can just have them on the ground here where they've pulled at them, and can have that one sticking out of the bath at the back. I love doing things like this. It's so much fun, and you're creating your story as you go. So we've got that. And then I think we'll add in, let's see what we've got flower wise. I think we've got some, let me see what I've got. This one I'll do here. So we've got some nice florals in here this time. So we can start to add this in. Oh, look, we've got grasses and all sorts in here. Look at this. Right, I'm not going to use that because that's a bit too chunky. So let's bring in some of these little primulas. And we're going to create our foreground now. So I'm just curving these. I'm not bothered about inking the edges because as I curve it, those white edges disappear. And also because I've printed on a lightweight card. So we can have some of these just pop down here. Let's work it out first before we start sticking stuff down. I like the poppies. It needs a pop of colour. This would be really nice man's card as it stands at the moment. But if you want to make it a little bit more feminine, we can start to add in our poppies here and there. So let's add some more down here. And that pop of red just brightens everything up. We can have, let's have a look. It's like he's peeping from behind the poppies now. That looks really cute. Look, it's like he's having a really good sniff of them. Then we can have that one there. So we'll tuck that poppy behind his head. So he's peeping out. Then we'll have our next set, and we'll have those just growing. So that can pop behind his hoof there, like that. So he's stood in among the poppies. And then because I've done that, I need to do more because I want more in here now. So let's see if we've got a taller one anywhere. in here, like this. Can we have a taller one? Will the taller one go behind there even? Not sure that that's, oh, it looks quite nice there. So we could get away with that, but let's see if we can snip into it and make something more out of it. So let's go from, let me think about this. So my stem's there on my actual flowers. So if I follow the artwork on here and just snip round this, I've now got that nice little bit of purple, and that can go behind there like that. So that's my next one in there. Then I've got this piece left over. So I've got another piece with a bit more height on, which actually, if I remove that one, could go back there like that. So it's extending the width of the actual card shape, and then that one I can extend by putting that one behind it. So now you've got this lovely scene. And then if you wanted to use your primulas, you could have these just at the bottom like that, and that could then, you've just got to think about your card base and where it's sitting. So you could then have that as kind of your ground cover if you wanted to bring that colour forward. So it's as much or as little as you want it to be, because actually what you could do is just take these two and pop them on a card. Let's just take these poppies out and let's just find a piece of card somewhere. You would think as crafters we'd have pieces of card, wouldn't you? You'd think, indeed. Spend more time looking for pens and pieces of paper than anything else, even though there's loads of it. Right, so let's say we've just got a small card like this. So this is me just being completely random. You could literally have maybe a matte layer, and then you could take your poppy and you could build up a lovely bouquet. So we can pop that there like so, and then we can have that there like that, and I would extend that stem down a little bit to your matte layer. You could do a little bit of inking in the background. Let's bring in this fern that we cut away because we can make use of that little bit there. So let's get rid of the rest of that and just use this bit like that, and you could just pop that down at the bottom like there, and then you could bring in some of your little decoupage layers from your primulas and pop these in. So you're now starting to build up that picture. I can lose that poppy from there, and I can put that, this is when it gets fiddly, when you're not gluing stuff down. Now I just wanted to show you how you can make really simple cards as well. So that can go on in there. Go on, there you go, in there like that. So we're now starting to create that width. Then we can have another poppy just in there that's grown while just going in a random position like that. So that fills in that little bit of space. We'll pop our primulas back in here, just here and there. So it looks like they're just growing up the side. I've got some more here, and they could just tuck behind there. So we're adding that yellow into there. Then you could even have a little ear of corn that you've got left over. That can go in there, and you could just have Mother's Day on. It can be as simple or as complex as you want it to be. And that's the versatility of it. And that's what Stephanie wanted. She didn't want to bring a brand where you had to buy every single collection. That's not what it's ever been about. It's about you picking and choosing the pieces, the elements that you need to tell your stories. And I love that. I think it's really cool. So that's a little idea. So the last one I want to do is what you would expect traditionally from Two Red Robins, where we build a freestanding card. And we've got some new collections launching soon, and they're lovely for doing this. Different, slightly different, well, quite different actually to what we've done before, which is exciting because it's continually moving on. And that's what you want from a brand. You don't want a brand to stay the same and bring the same thing over and over again. Right, so we've got loads of stuff here. I've got poppies, I've got the primulas again, I've got little mice, I've got squirrels, I've got mushrooms, I've got all sorts of stuff going on. And I've got these fabulous tree trunks. So I'm going to create my height and width using, I'm going to create a corner first of all. So I've got something then to fill in. So I'm going to take this tree branch. Now this has been cut on a thicker card because this is, if you did this really thin, because it's freestanding, you need something to support that's supported. And because there isn't a lot of detail in it, it's just kind of an outline, you get away with it. And then I've got my mushrooms here. So I'm going to position this like that. So it's that old tree that looks like it's completely dead until it gets to spring and then it comes to life again. We have one like that in our back garden. It looks really sad in the winter because it's just bare. But come the spring, within a week, it's full of buds, and within another week, it's full of leaves. And I love that. It's like, yes, new life is starting again. Yeah, that just fills me with joy. So we're going to have that, and I'm going to move it up a little bit. So my mushrooms are going to be the base of my card. So I'm making sure that this part here is level. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to take another one, and we're going to have this way. So again, I'm making sure that this bit and this branch down here are perfectly together. I'm not worried that that's going up on an angle because we're going to fill this bit in. But I now know that I just need glue here, like that. So I'm going to make sure, again, I'm using the line on my craft mat to make sure that that's level. And then I bring this into that same line and position that over the top like that. And if you think, well, that looks a bit odd. Well, yeah, it does at the moment because we haven't finished it yet. But once we start to do this, and we add that in there, and then we add another one. Let's snip out this one here, because that's a different shape. Because mushrooms are all different. Like this. Any smaller elements will be lovely in fact, what I'm going to do here is use the stump of that mushroom there, so that it looks like a rock. Like that, and then just continue on that ground bit there, and a little bit, can't do that bit there. And then that can go, I'm going to pop that behind like that. So you've got this nice layer of mushrooms growing up now. So don't be afraid to snip into it. It's a piece of paper at the end of the day. So I'm still making sure that I'm level when I'm gluing this down. Is that level? Yeah, we're not far off there. That's good. And then I'm going to pop this one behind it. So we're now instantly building up our perspective again. So position it down where you want it. Like that. So I want it behind there like that. Then hold it in place. Lift the pieces that are on it up. Put your glue behind and then press it down. So then you know you've got it exactly where you want it to be. So I'm going to press that down like that. So I've now got the basis of my card. And if we wanted to, you could use a reverse reflection, or just by bending it like that. So if I just snip away this bit, and I'm going to make that mushroom a slightly different shape there. You can have it coming out at the side like that. So one's growing off in a different direction, or you could have another one coming out from behind here. That's quite nice on that side, quite like that growing out diagonally there. So again, hold it in place, lift the piece that's on top, or just slide it out, and then position that one like that on a diagonal. So we've now got this lovely card. So I want to create height. Now I want to get some colour in here, and these poppies are perfect for that. I do love poppies. As I drive home from Derbyshire or Peterborough, as I hit the M62, as I come off the Slit Road from the A1 onto the M62, there's this massive field, and it's obviously not there all year, but this massive field, and it's just full of red. All you can see is this mass of red poppies. It's absolutely stunning. The sad part is it's not a place where I can stop my car and take a photograph, because it is just exquisite. Absolutely fabulous. Really, just, yeah, stunning. So I have a real place in my heart for poppies. I love them. I love what they stand for too. I think it's a lovely thing. So I'm going to pop that there. So I've now got my height there. And then I'm going to start to just build some into here. So I'm mixing in where my poppies are going to go. That fits really nicely there. And as a card blank, we're just going to use our construction weight acetate to make a little stand for it. So we're not worrying about having twos of everything that we can then do back to back, because we can just put our construction weight acetate on at the end, just cut a little stand and make it out of that. And then I could have another one that's kind of, let's see if we can wrap that in there. So we're going to do that there. So let's see. Am I happy with that? Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm all right with that. It's funny when I'm working from home, because my husband will keep coming in and he's like, who are you talking to? I'm talking to myself. I do, I talk to myself all the time. The best one is when I'm packing my car, because I have to go, right, that needs to go there and that needs that, and then I need this, and I'm talking to myself all the time. He thinks I'm absolutely bonkers, which is not wrong, to be fair. And then you could, if you wanted to, so let's get rid of that tall bit there. Let's get rid of that little bit there. And you're never going to waste bits like this. And let's get that there. So let's get rid of all this at the top. And if you cut it a little bit too straight, like I did then, just wiggle your scissors and put the shape of that back in. And then that can go up at the top like that if you wanted to. Or it could come down here if you wanted to. It depends where you want the fullness of your poppies. That's quite nice there. So let's pop that on. And you know what? It's your style. You can take inspiration from other crafters, and that's absolutely what we do. And we all do it, whether we work in the industry or whether we're, a customer or whatever we do in craft. We all take inspiration from other people. I love what Leonie does, but it's not my style. So if I did it, I wouldn't like it. I love watching her do it. I love watching the way she works, because she's so random. It reminds me of me, to be fair. But I put my style on it, because then it's yours and you own it. And I like that. I like that about craft. It doesn't matter what your style is. You can take an idea and a process or whatever it is, and you can make it work for you. And that for me is really important, because then it's your style. So I'm going to pop some little primulas just behind there. I don't want to cover these mushrooms because I like them. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue on here like this, and I'm going to tuck it behind there. So they're coming out on the edge there. And then I might take some more. Have I got any smaller ones? Yes, I have. And I might put that there. So it's bringing them to the foreground this time. So yes, I'm losing that mushroom, but I can still see it through there. So rather than cutting it off completely, do I want to cut that bit? No, I want to leave that there. So let's pop that there. And don't forget, you've also got a reverse of these. So maybe this one would work better that way. And that's why I wanted reverse, because there's nothing more frustrating than sitting there and going, I wish that mushroom was a bit bigger, or I wish that squirrel was facing the other way. That's why I love SVG cutting files, because you can absolutely make that happen. Whereas with the die, you'd have to buy 2 dies. Right, so we've got that. We've then got some little poppies left over from our previous card. So let's stick this behind here, like so, like that. We've got our squirrel. Now this reminds me of going down to Lymington when I was little. We had some friends who lived in Lymington near Southampton. My mum and dad had family friends. We used to go down there in the summer, and they had 5 children and I was an only one. So it was like playtime. It was fabulous. And in their garden there were loads and loads and loads of red squirrels. You don't see them very often now. They're all grey. Now this is a bit of decoupage that I found. And I thought, actually, you know what? I could just have him peeping out there. So don't waste the decoupage layers, even though he looks like he's been injured, which he hasn't, bless him. It's horrible. I hate looking at them when they've been the decoupage pieces, because no, it's not good. But I can pop him in there. And then I've got a little owl here. He can sit on top of my mushroom like that. How cool is that? And it's all these little bits that bring the story to life. Now he needs to be watching something, so he's looking at something, and that something is going to be the squirrel down here. So he's just going to pop on there like that. So I've now got my composition, and I could have this little chap here just peeping out there. That looks really nice. It's like when I first did the pictures, when we launched our first SVG USB for 2 red robins. I did 4 big pictures. They were the only samples I did for the show, and they're up in the foyer of our building at the moment. Well, 3 of them are. One of them is over here. In fact, I'm going to bring it in for you and show you. And this started just, I mean, it was an A3 background, so we had an A3 background printed. And then all of this was cut on the Scan and Cut, and I just cut loads and loads of it and laid it all out on a big table, and then thought, right, so we've got the stone wall in the background and the stile and the wheel and the rusty padlock, and then all the flowers and the ferns and the foliage, and then the robins come in and all the little foxgloves come in, and there's a piece of wood down here and all sorts. And I love that, you know, but the front of a journal, something like that, this would be beautiful. Think about printing off some of them onto fabric and cutting them out. You know, they're just, it's so versatile because it's countryside, it's British countryside. That's what we expect when we go out on our walks. And it's a lovely thing to be able to replicate that in your crafting. So what I need now is a little stand to go at the back of here so it freestands. So I've got our construction weight acetate. Now this is properly thick stuff. It's really good quality. You can easily cut it with a pair of scissors. You can cut it on your cutter pillar. Just be careful because it is solid and it is plastic, so just be gentle with it. What I tend to do is bend it over the side. So I'll put this on my cutter pillar, and against the metal edge I'll bend it using this. So just, you know, have a play around with that. So now I've got to try and fold it. So if I do it on the edge of the table, I can bend it and then I can push it together like this. You can score it on a scoreboard, but it is quite tough. So it's, you know, you've got to put a little bit of welly behind it. I haven't got much welly left after the weekend because Stephanie was teaching all day and I was the one that was doing the teas and coffees and changing the water and cleaning the room, and I can't remember the last time I climbed so many stairs in one day. In fact, last night when I sat down, I couldn't get back up again. I was like, oh my goodness, my feet had gone to sleep. I had to take my boots off and put my slippers on halfway through the day. But we had such a good time. So if you can ever come to see us at Highlight Crafts, they're really well looked after. The food was fabulous. The company was fabulous. And it was, yeah, we had a great weekend. And then Stephanie drove straight to Birmingham to do stitches. So yeah, that lady never stops. Never stops. Right, so red liner tape for this. There's no point using wet glue on acetate because it's nothing to soak into. So PVA glue is no good for acetate. So either red liner tape or Pinflare do a glue called All Stick. And All Stick was made for polystyrene. So it's made to work on plastic. So you could use that, but for instant grab, red liner tape. If red liner tape annoys you because these bits all stick to you and you can't get them off, piece of kitchen roll at the side of you takes the static away. Right, let's stick this now onto here. So let's turn this over. I know I've got my straight edge there, so I'm going to keep that guideline on my mat and I'm going to bring the acetate down to meet it. And because it's clear, you're not going to see it when it stands up. And then if I open this up, so let's just gently open that up there, like so. And there is your little card freestanding. So 3 completely different projects from the same USB. And think about using your detail cuts to foil. Now then, if you have the foiling kit from Brother, perfect, you'll use it as is suggested. If you haven't, you can use the small universal pen holder and a glue pen from Brother. And the reason I say the glue pens from Brother is A, the flow is better than a Quickie glue pen. I've tried them both and it's a much more, the nib is slightly different, it's slightly bigger. so it flows better. But also it has numbers from 1 to 4, which denotes the glue level. So if you're using it to foil, it will ask you what number your glue is at, and it will tell you whether there's enough glue in it to complete your project, which is mind-blowing to me. I use it with a universal pen holder, and I just tell it to draw. Now on an SDX, you can lift the back rollers, so that's fine, because then the rollers don't go through the glue. On a CM machine, you can't lift the back rollers. So what you have to do is put the pen in the universal pen holder and ask it to foil as if you're using the foil starter kit. And it works because the barcode on the back of the foil pen holder and the universal pen holder are the same. So the machine doesn't know the difference between the two. And you go to glue and it will do it from the bottom up, so those rollers never go through. But you don't need to remember any of that, because if you go onto YouTube and type in highlight crafts, there are 2 videos there showing you how to foil your reflections, one for SDX and one for CM. And it looks really cool. So those detail bits you can use rather than using them on your reflections. They're in the monthly playlist bit for Scan and Cut. So you'll see it when you go on and you can see how to foil them. So you can then touch foil in the comfort of your own home, which is really cool. And I think something for this something like this, that will be really good. Another question? Right, so beautiful card, but any ideas for covering the back to make it look prettier? Yes, absolutely. Use your reverse reflections. So I know it's extra printing and it's extra paper, but actually if you glue them back to back, you could absolutely do that. The other thing that you can't really colour them with a pen because it's going to seep through. You could build more on top of the acetate at the back if you wanted to, but I would use the reverse reflections. So to use a reverse reflection, when you bring on your cutting file first of all and you group it just like you do for your regular reflections. You then scan in your printed sheet, you line up the 2 rectangles, and then you use your flip function on your Scan and Cut, and that reverses it. So yes, if you did that, that would be fabulous. If you use the matte layers, so let me draw this out for you. I've got a pen. Of course I haven't got a pen. The matte layers. I can't find one. Oh, hang on. Let me see if I can find one from Stephanie. So let me have a look. No pen. Oh, yep, got one. And I got a piece of paper. Right, so what you can do, so let's say that you've got, I don't know, a mouse. Now, please forgive my drawing because I'm rubbish. So this is your mouse. You know when I say I'm bad at drawing? I'm really bad at drawing. I'll even give him a tail. Shocking. Shocking. Right, so this is your mouse. So your matte layer is a perfect offset line that goes all the way around here like this. So it gives you an equal distance all the way around like that. It's like when you buy a die and you get the outside edge die, the foundation die, that's what your matte layer is like. So if you took, let's say for example, the way that I would do it is I'd bring on the mat for my mushrooms. Well, what I would do is lay it out like this first. So I'd get my reflections and I'd lay them out like this. And I'd build my design like that, for example. Then what I would do is bring the matte layers on. So my first matte layer would be my poppies, then my mushrooms, then my primulas. So you've got shapes that have no detail in them, but they're the outside edges plus a bit, if you like. And then I would weld those together. And you would cut them out as something like a craft card because it's organic, it fits in with the theme of everything else. And then all of this will go on top of the card blank. So you've got your matte layer, you've built up your picture, you've designed it with your reflections first of all, then you weld your matte layers together and you put your reflections on top, and that will mean that the back of it is the colour of the card at the back, if that's what you want to do. If you don't want to see the colour of card at the back, take the reflection files out of the rectangle and use those. So you would have a mushroom with your primula welded to it and your poppy at the back. And then on the back of this, it would all be your craft card. So it's all little things like that. Think about the files that you've got. Just because they're a reflection file, all that means is it cuts the outside edge. It doesn't cut the detail in. So what you can do is take that and weld it to make your card blank. And I've just had a good answer. Thank you. Tick. That's one tick for today. I've done that bit of my job properly. Thank you ever so much for joining me. Don't forget there's a code MEL15. So if you need a mat, blades, a scraper, scan and cut, if you fancy a new scan and cut, that's a bit expensive just as a random thing on a Monday, but who knows. Anything that's to do with Brother, you can get 15% off. highlightcrafts.com website. Remember to put the S on the end, and please check out our training academy list of classes. We're adding to it all the time, and it will be absolutely delightful if you came to see us at some point. We're doing everything from half a day to a whole week, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger. And the steel has arrived for our new building. So what we're doing is we've got warehousing and offices at the moment, and our training room is upstairs. What we're doing is moving all the warehouse to the new building, and we haven't been able to get hold of steel or roof lights. Anyway, it's back and it's starting to be built. So then the warehouse will all transfer over to the new building, and we're building 3 big room sets in the warehouse because it's all heated. It's fabulous. So you'll have a big room for mixed media, another one for papercraft, and another one for fabric. And you could design your own fabric on your computer, send it to us, and we print it on our big industrial fabric printers. So there's going to be loads going on, and it would be lovely to meet some of you in person at some point if that's doable for you. So yeah, it's going to be really good. So that's it from me for now. I will see you back if you want to join us for the free class. I'm going to teach you how to make a stepper card, which is super cool. If you haven't got the Zoom codes, Andrew, email info at highlightcrafts.com, and we will send you the Zoom code. The first 5 classes are already available on YouTube, and we do SDX from 5:30 till 6:30 and CM from 7 till 8. So thanks ever so much for your company, and I will see you very soon. Take care. Lots of love. Bye.
If you want to see more from Highlight Crafts, make sure you subscribe by clicking the button below. Then click the bell icon to receive notifications for all our new content.